All right, to Brexit we will go, to Brexit we will go, oh, to Brexit we will go.
Now, I did today, specifically,
She did a good job.
wear
Turn
my
your head.
hair for the hat.
Now turn your head sideways so they can see your, there you go. Now do the
Now,
whole
I
show
think
like
I
that.
look like the picture.
You
I
did.
think my hair, I think I succeeded.
You did. Now you do the... There.
Hey guys,
Almost there.
welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is the 24th of November. It should be Thanksgiving. Like last year, Thanksgiving was on like today, and the year before Thanksgiving was on yesterday or something to that effect.
Thanksgiving's always on a Thursday.
All right, to Brexit we will go, to Brexit we will go, oh, to Brexit we will go.
Now, I did today, specifically,
She did a good job.
wear
Turn
my
your head.
hair for the hat.
Now turn your head sideways so they can see your, there you go. Now do the
Now,
whole
I
show
think
like
I
that.
look like the picture.
You
I
did.
think my hair, I think I succeeded.
You did. Now you do the rest of the show like that.
But sideways.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it sideways.
Brexit is just the start. Farage calls for 50,000 migration cap as he launches Brexit Party contract, including 200 billion on NHS and high streets. Nigel Farage calls for migration to Britain to be slashed to 50,000 a year and a 2 billion spend on the NHS and high streets as he announces. Oh yeah, we just read that. Okay, the Brexit Party leader unveiled his party's election battle plan at this. I think it was a couple days ago. The morning's Westminster lunch. And both Boris and Johnson revealed their manifestos, promising to help ordinary people as he pledged to campaign for a clean break Brexit from all EU institutions. As his party unveiled its contract with the people rather than a traditional party manifesto, the term manifesto was associated with lies in voters' minds. Mr. Farage claimed migration to the UK would return to post-war norm under his Eurosceptic party's plans. And he said that his party would change the landscape of politics in Britain as he took aim at the House of Lords honor system, and which borders on corruption, as well as to cap on migration. He has a vision for 200 billion Brexit dividend, which would be spent on the NHS, high streets, and the roads and rail network. I want to go right over here to some great clips from Nigel Farage in no particular order.
Are these all from Barry?
Total lack of leadership. I mean, this is the defining
Some are-
issue of our time.
But no, these are from Twitter
and the
right
Labour
now.
leader
Okay.
says he doesn't know which side he's going to back. Truth of it is, the reason he's saying that is because the Labour Party in Parliament are Remainers. 95% of them are outright Remainers, because Corbyn knows that in the country there are 5 million Labour Leave voters. So he's trying to keep both these wings of the old Labour vote together, and it's not going to work.
It's not going to work, he says. Speaking of Labour Leave voters, here's one. Hartpool's Labour MP ties himself to knots over his party's bonkers Brexit policy. This has been seen over 1 million times.
Wow.
The Labour position
Sorry.
is to have a second referendum, but not to be clear on which way you're campaigning that. How's that going to wash when 7 out of 10 people here voted Brexit?
Let me be perfectly clear. In my mind, Labour has pledged to negotiate a deal with the EU within 6 months, and it's that I'll be pushing for. If we get to a point where we then put that deal to the people with other options, I certainly, as the MP for Hartlepool, will be pushing to leave the EU with a very good Labour deal.
But the Labour position is to have a second referendum. That is the position.
No, it's not. No, the Labour deal is to negotiate a deal. Sorry, the Labour position is to negotiate a deal within 6 months and then put it to the people as an option. And I will be pushing for that deal to go through.
But that is a second referendum.
No, it's not. No, it's a choice on Labour's deal, leave, or whatever other options upon the table. But I'm against the second referendum. Everybody knows that.
But that is a second. Having a second vote is a second referendum.
No, it's not. A second referendum is a second referendum. I've never advocated that. The Labour Party's not advocating that. It might be a choice, on the paper that comes out, but I've not seen the questions we've put yet. At the end of the day, the party has said it will negotiate a deal. Well, what's the point of negotiating a deal if we're not going to leave the EU and we will be out within 6 months?
My job as Prime Minister would be to implement the result of that referendum, and that will close the issue down. Leave or remain, we will carry it out.
Okay.
So Jeremy
liar.
Corbyn says we are going to go for a second referendum. So that particular person running, who I'm sure you guys all know who he is, Hartlepool's Labour MP, doesn't really know what's going down. All right, Mr. Farage. I think I'm a bit more of an outdoor guy than both of them. Nigel Farage, he's had more of a chance of surviving on a desert island compared to Donald Trump and Boris Johnson.
Well, you Donald Trump very well. You know Boris Johnson very well. If the three of you were stuck on a desert island, who'd survive?
I think that I would probably have more chance of catching fish, building shelters. I think I'm a bit more of an outdoor guy than both of them.
That's so funny.
I think that's really true, though. I don't think
It's
he's being honest. I
absolutely
think
true.
that if it was any other way, he'd be honest about it. But I would definitely go with that.
But President Trump would cheer him on.
Oh, Nigel, you can do it. More than that, though, President Trump would make sure that Nigel did the best job fishing and then make a deal with them to get some of his fish.
You know that's right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so right.
All right, what do you got next?
There are around 130 seats. I can't get over the thought of that. Nigel would catch the fish.
Yeah.
And Trump would make a deal with him to get some of his fish.
Of course.
Yes. And Boris would go around and steal them. All right. Okay, 130 seats that the Conservatives haven't won in 50 years. Leavers, don't waste your vote.
Feel that they're not being listened to. You've got a clear mandate telling you, actually, we want to leave.
Make sure they can see.
You know, you can see why people might get angry about that.
I can't. Yeah, wait. What should it read?
No traditional Labour Leave voter is going to vote Tory. The only way that we're going to get
Watch your shoulder
a
there.
Leave candidate is to vote for the Brexit Party.
There you go. The Brexit Party won in every Leave voting region in the European elections in May and has 274 candidates ready to do the same in the general election.
My raison d'etre is social justice.
We filmed with a hidden camera in 14 hospitals across the UK.
There are two ways you make a decision. One is with your head and one is with your heart. I've always followed this, which has always been the right decision.
I've always had to stand up for myself, and that's part of what I'm doing here.
I'm actually motivated by a sincere desire to leave the European Union. You know, that's what I'm about.
Military veterans, we are standing to make sure a real Brexit happens.
We get a good core of Brexit Party members of Parliament, then we will have the ability to hold Boris to account.
It is simply unacceptable to have a postcode lottery of hell.
In many ways, the Labour heartlands of this country are some of the most neglected parts of this country. We need to start regional regeneration. We need to bring jobs to the community.
So let's have no pessimism on our side of the argument. Let's believe in what we voted for 3.5 years ago. Change doesn't come easily and doesn't come cheaply, but we are on our way to gaining the independence of our nation, and we can on December the 12th. If we're there, we will keep them honest. There will only be a genuine Brexit if we have the Brexit Party represented.
There are around 130 seats that Conservatives have never won in the last 50 years. Leavers, don't waste your vote. That is such a powerful political ad there. I just, oh my goodness. Where's Jeremy Corbyn's ad? Like that.
That's a good question.
We love you. We're going to be behind you. We're going to back and support you. We're going to help rejuvenate you.
Right.
If anything, there people are really just voting Labour just because that's what they've done. Nigel Farage's party is the only party that has any hope, any vision, any answers.
Right.
You know, really, they're starting from scratch, and that's the best place to start.
You can turn your light back on. Worth a Look says, that's why Nigel was right not to stand. He has to be on the road rallying the troops.
Right.
Stuart the Brit says, one of the problems with the country is they tend to vote for the underdog, so Labour will still get votes. Streaky Bacon says, Labour, degenerate party of filth and lies. Worth a Look says, Brexit party has to grab Labour seats in the north, and they can do it. Earlier, Britt Baza had left a comment, still a little bit upset at Nigel for pulling out of the extra seats. He says, Farage defrauded millions of Brits in true blue heartlands out of a protest vote against the Tories by pulling out of the true blue heartlands of the southeast. But I guess I kind of understand him pulling.
It had to be hard.
It had to be a very difficult decision for him to make. So I don't think that defrauding is the right word, because to defraud somebody is to make them believe something that you know all along is not true.
But he said it from the very beginning.
Right.
If I need to make a pact with Boris, I will withdraw.
Right.
If I need to make a pact with Boris, he never.
That's not a fraud. That's not to defraud people.
He
That's
said
just,
it from the very beginning.
This is what I've got to do.
But I can see how you'd be highly disappointed. You want to vote for a Brexit
sure.
party person. I would too. I would be disappointed. I'd want to vote Brexit.
Yeah.
I'd be really disappointed if I couldn't, and you had to stick me to the
Tories.
Yeah. So I get you. You have every right to be upset. I understand why he did it. It just doesn't make it any easier to just be frustrated and.
Party stand for beyond Brexit?
Abolition of the House of Lords. A change of the voting system to make it proportional, whereby we don't have a binary choice between two minority parties. Well, what a farce that is. A politics where you say, look, you don't think we're very good, look at the other bloke, he's even worse. A politics where we stand up for what we believe in and people vote accordingly. I would scrap the current postal voting register and go back to postal votes being for those that are elderly, infirm or working abroad. I want us to have the right of a citizen's initiative. If enough of us aren't happy with where Westminster is going, we can call a referendum. And we're also going to have to face up to something. Tony Blair set up a Supreme Court. It is a political court. It is now acting on its own, making up its own precedent as it goes. We are going to have a written constitution so that we all know where we stand. So radical political reform is the first thing that we stand for. And the second thing is, what about the 5.5 million men and women in this country running their own businesses, acting as sole traders, being taxed, regulated and not free to go out and make profits? I want to stand up for the little people. It's about time somebody did.
Doesn't he sounds like a Labour leader. Like, that's a Labour manifesto.
Right.
Why would those Labour voters have got to be like, he sounds so much better than Jeremy Corbyn?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And he's not an anti-Semite.
You know what I find interesting from their political system versus ours is that Nigel isn't standing in any seat, and yet he still is the one that shows up to the debate. They're allowed to, like, I guess, put forward whoever
they I like
want
it.
for that, and I think it's awesome. And I also, as I'm watching Nigel speak, you know, there are subjects that I feel really confident in. And so if somebody wants to debate me on those subjects, I have all my ducks in a row and I know all the answers. There aren't a lot of subjects that are like that for me. There are some, but not a lot. There's a lot that I feel mildly confident
Remember, though,
in. But the fact that he knows everything, when he stands up on that stage, there is no question. There's nothing that they're going to put to him that he's not going to have an answer for.
That's absolutely true. I love that about him. But he does hold the leadership of the Brexit Party MEPs. So he is the leader of the Brexit Party. They are a party. They are in the European Parliament, which as of today, the UK is still part of. So it's not odd for him to be leader of the Brexit Party because he still has a seat.
Sure. It's the same party, whether it's sent to the EU or whether they're...
And that's where the confusion comes in. Sure. And that's why he does have the voice, and he has the right to be the leader of the voice.
Firehorse says he is the most experienced dealing with the EU and pretty much carried us kicking and screaming to this moment. Where the look says the Brexit vote won't... I don't know what you mean there. The birth vote won't... Wait. The birth won't vote the North. Won't vote, I got it, Conservative, so it has to be the Brexit Party. But yes, Labour have had a hold of the North for a long time, and that's the deal. So even if you're a little bit upset about Nigel pulling from the South, I mean, the Brexit Party is going to do what they are meant to do, and they're not going to pull votes from the Tories, which I think is excellent.
So you need to tell your neighbors in the north, say, hey, listen, Nigel Farage's policies are way better for you than Jeremy Corbyn, and he actually cares about you, and he is a labor type man. This is a labor type manifesto.
Right.
It really is.
We're the only one we're going to have in the election campaign. What have we learned? Jeremy Corbyn, a better debater than Boris Johnson. Boris even reading his opening and closing remarks from notes. But on the key defining issue of our age, Brexit, Jeremy Corbyn cannot say in his second referendum whether his party will support Leave or Remain. That's a complete failure of leadership on the key issue. Only one winner, Juliet Chicken.
Juliet Chicken. All right. As always, Nigel nails it. On one hand, the Parliamentary Labour Party is 95% Remain. On the other, 5 million Labour voters. I don't know if I paid this one or not. I'm going to play it again.
Leadership. I mean, this is the defining issue of our times, and the Labour leader says he doesn't know which side he's going to back. Truth of it is, the reason he's saying that is because the Labour Party in Parliament are Remainers. 95% of them are outright Remainers. But of course, Corbyn knows that in the country there are 5 million Labour Leave voters. So he's trying to keep both these wings of the old Labour vote together, and it's not going to work. A total lack of leadership. I mean, this is the...
All right, so here we have, I guess, the question time here, which I always find, I love the small audience question time.
Yeah.
Because unlike in American politics and people, I don't know, when I watch the small town halls and hear, they don't
awful.
seem intimate enough. They don't seem like the people.
They all seem contrived.
They feel contrived. Like, you never know what you're going to get from people. And I do believe that they do a good job, even though they lean completely left, letting other people have a say. It's kind of this really interesting thing where you do allow, I mean, the BBC is slanted, but not actually as slanted as our media. Our media in America is way more slanted, that you do allow for some people to say some things, and it's not that your presenters are diverse, but you will bring in some diverse opinions. More than there's not one network that does anything positive on Donald Trump.
Very true.
And mainstream media.
Well,
not
except
one.
for Fox News.
Well, and that's what they're saying. But Fox News was created as an antithesis to the mainstream media.
Right.
The ABC, NBC, CBS.
Exactly.
And you have to have cable
But now
to watch
they're
it.
crushing them.
You have to have cable to watch it, okay? There's no mainstream media where you can just,
turn on the television.
Exactly. So this is really interesting when this guy talks about what he says to Jeremy Corbyn here. I was really impressed. He says, I don't buy this whole nice grandpa. I see that video and it tells me all I need to know about him acting like there was an issue, I guess, with Corbyn jokes with an anti-Semite who had just heckled Jewish Labour MP Ruth Smith. There's a video on it online, I guess you can see, with an anti-Semitic slur in her presence. And Jeremy Corbyn went up and shook hands with that guy afterwards.
Mr. Corbyn, I heard you talk about free speech and standing up for human rights. And I have 2 young daughters. And what terrifies me is I look at some of the Labour MPs, some female Labour MPs, and the misogyny that's happened in the Labour Party. They've been driven out the party. I look at a video on YouTube with Ruth Smith, particularly, because I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt in terms of maybe people are doing it in your name and not supported by you. But I look at a video of Ruth Smith online where she was in a press conference with you. And basically, Ruth Smith, a Jewish MP, was heckled out of that press conference. It's online, it's on YouTube. And there you are at the end of the press conference, chatting happily to that same heckler. I don't buy this whole nice old grandpa. I see that video, and that tells me all I need to know. And I'm terrified for my daughters, because I see what you did in that video. And I don't understand how you can say you stand up for human rights and free speech when that's how you support a Labour MP at a Labour press conference. I think it's disgraceful.
I'm sorry about that. You saw what happened? Yeah, I did. I sent you a text. Why are you pushing me? No, don't. It's all right. I'm just trying to get out of a bit of a hurry. He got a bit... Sorry about that.
Look, I outed Smith, bloody talking to the Tory graph.
So I guess that's him shaking hand with the guy. So here's another guy. looks like a character from Lord of the Rings, but hey, he actually has some good
To be
thoughts
honest,
here.
Mr. Corbyn, I don't think it's businesses who should be scared, I think it's everyone. Your reckless socialist ideas are genuinely terrifying to me, my family and my friends, and I think freedom will completely erode if we let you have the keys to number 10. To be honest, Mr. Corbyn, I don't think it's businesses who should be scared, I think it's everyone. Your reckless socialist ideas are genuinely terrifying to me, my family and my friends, and I think freedom will completely erode if we let you have the keys to number 10.
Very interesting. Your reckless socialist ideas, which I find refreshing to hear come out of what we consider a way more socialist country than even America. So here we have Boris Johnson slamming any notion that the Russian had involvement in the election referendum.
When will you release the Russian report?
Let me
so
tell
this
you,
is the report into whether or not there was Russian interference or any kind of influence.
There is absolutely no evidence that I know
that's the case, then why not release it?
To show any interference in any British electoral event. And the reason I won't is I see no reason, or the reason I decided not to ages ago, is because I see no reason to interfere with the normal timetable.
The normal timetable, hold on, that's not true. That is not true.
Going on. This is real. I'm sorry to say, and with great respect, so this is complete Bermuda Triangle stuff. There is no, as is the suggestion.
If that's the case.
As is the suggestion that the referendum, when 17.4 million people voted to leave, was somehow false, vitiated, not fair, wrong, and should now be cancelled. I don't think.
I do apologize on the behalf of my country that the Russian hysteria has gone over there, and that everyone now believes that Russia is interfering in everyone's election if they don't like the election results. Oh my gosh. All right, so what we need is the right Brexit. We can do so much better if we get it. Okay.
If we get a bad Brexit and we're not actually free of the EU's institutions, then frankly, it wasn't worth it, because it will be Brexit in name only. What I'm trying to make sure is that we get Boris Johnson into the right place on this, so we get a Brexit where we genuinely have left the EU's institutions. And that's what, I mean, we're almost there. We are almost there. You can see the campaign for a second referendum, many of those things now falling into the ground. What we need is the right Brexit. We can do so much better if we get it.
Did you see his little ankle in between his socks and his pants there?
Oh, yeah.
He's such a real dude.
Yeah, I saw that. All right, so it's time to...
So Worth Look says, don't worry, our government have blamed the Russians many times for things on TV over the years. So far, maybe we got it from you guys and we should be angry at you. I'm kidding.
Well, it was the stupid Steele dossier. It is your fault. Thank you, Worth a Look.
Oh my gosh.
It is your fault. It's your stupid MI6 guy. And I'm not blaming you particularly, but it did all start with Christopher Steele and the UK meddling in our elections.
Here it comes.
Okay, I want to play a little bit of Nigel's On the Road episode here.
Right,
episode 8 in Hartlepool. Hartlepool?
That's where Corbyn was.
Question time debates that we've seen, the election campaign.
And if it doesn't,
where it's going, the lack of enthusiasm that
if it doesn't, I can probably
On the Road episode 8 on YouTube probably
perceive out there in the country. But first, important.
Yeah, it might be a Michelle thing here. I don't know why. I should learn from last time I tried to bring it up on Periscope. On the Road with Nigel Farage, episode 8. You can probably be able to find it like that. Just type in that.
I wanted his channel though. Like I hate that I just put in Nigel Farage and I don't even get his channel. Like he has a channel, by the way.
I know. All right. Okay, so this is where our two political craziness aligns. Jeremy Corbyn goes for broke with last desperate act. U.S. Democrats take note. Labor's manifesto is a final act of desperation. U.S. Democrats, especially Elizabeth Warren, should take note. Corbyn goes for broke with radical manifesto.
Today's the 31st of October. It's the day we were supposed to leave the...
goes for broke. There is not much in the article worth reading. There seldom is from a left-wing Guardian who backs Corbyn, but the headline is at least accurate. Labour's radical plan highlights increased government spending by a massive $82.9 billion a year. all paid by rising taxes. 400 billion National Transformation Fund, which would add to the government's debt, but isn't in the headline figures. Nationalization of rail, water, energy, bus, mail, broadband companies. Seizure of 10% of the shares in every big UK company and handing the shares to workers. Raise the corporate tax rate to 26% from 19%, and 11 billion windfall tax on oil and gas sector.
Whoa.
Free broadband internet for everyone.
Oh my gosh.
Free shelter for the homeless. Now remember, he wasn't able to, he had one tiny little thing he promised, like free college, and he wasn't able to do that. Now it's free shelter for the homeless, super rich tax hike, tax on second homes, raise 8 billion via a financial transactions tax, higher inheritance tax.
Oh my gosh.
Force landlords to sell homes to tenants at a fair price as determined by Labour. Labour declares war on the city. Labour manifesto is the stuff of third world dictatorships.
Wow.
Echoes of 1983. Please consider radical Corbyn wish list has echoes of 1983. Labour this week issued a manifesto even more radical than its election wish list from 36 years ago. It's just not credible here. Corbyn not credible. Tax robbery. The Marxist Manifesto, says the Daily Mail. In most left-wing blueprint ever, Corbyn declares war on marriage, inheritance, and business. Families face crippling costs of Labour spending spree, and expert view simply not credible. Referendum on Corbyn. On November 19th, the author here, I'm going to try to give credit to where credit is due. Mike Shedlock via Mish Talk here is a really good article. November 19th, I proposed fear of Corbyn outweighs fear of Brexit. Brexit is fading as an issue, especially among women. Only 25% of women have Brexit as their number one issue. A whopping 47.7% of men are likely to vote for Boris Johnson versus only 36.1% of women. Check out the undecideds. Only 10% of men are undecided versus a whopping 23% of women. The election has morphed into a referendum on Corbyn and away from a referendum on Brexit. Not even the 18 to 24-year-olds prefer Corbyn. The only demographic in which Corbyn leads is 25 to 34-year-olds. Don't know polls ahead of Corbyn among men, women in these small in the age groups show that everybody's afraid of Corbyn. Lament from the Labour marginals. On November 22nd, The Guardian reported it's more about Corbyn than Brexit. Looking like a Tory blowout and complete collapse of Labour. Using the latest projections, this author sees something on the order of 88-seat majority for the Tories. What's a Brexit party? That's based on regional projections. Just today, I updated the post with seat-by-seat changes. This guy, you can look at his update. I don't know if Michelle can put the Zero Hedge article in there. Jeremy Corbyn goes for broke.
You mean in the description?
In the description, yeah, sorry. Without a doubt, Boris Johnson united the Tory party. So we'll see what happens. But Elizabeth Warren and Jeremy Corbyn. It's Jeremy Corbyn goes for broke. If Corbyn goes down hard, and he should, on a staunchly, radically nonsensical platform, he will be forced out, and Labour will also split hard. U.S. Democrats should take note. Elizabeth Warren and Jeremy Corbyn are two peas in the same radical socialist pot. So
I have that Nigel video if you want me to play
okay,
it.
I'm ready. I am ready.
It's time for the ultimate sleep number event on the...
No, I don't want premium.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about the question time debates that we've seen, the election campaign, where it's going, the lack of enthusiasm that I perceive out there in the country. But first, and importantly, you do send me a lot of questions. A lot of questions. You know, they come in on Twitter, they come in on Facebook, they come in on YouTube. I thought I'd start by answering a few, because they are, and the ones we've selected do represent the kind of feedback I'm getting. On Twitter, Antonia says, this election won't see a low turnout. People are fired up. Antonia, let me tell you something. You are completely and utterly wrong. I think we're going to see a very low turnout. People on the street will tell you who they're not going to vote for and why. I've hardly heard anyone tell me, yeah, we're going to vote for Boris because he's fantastic, or we love Jeremy Corbyn. I'm not getting that. I'm getting negativity. It's going to be December the 12th. I know the postal votes are important. Could be 25% of the overall turnout. I predict, Antonia, I predict a low turnout. It was 69% at the last general election. It was 66% in the general election before that. I'll bet you it's below 65. It could even be below 60. That's my view. Antonia, one of us is going to be proved right. On Twitter, Steve-O says, try talking about your policies on the NHS, the economy, or foreign policy. You don't have any, you muppets. Hi, Steve-O. Great to know that you're a regular viewer. Well, yesterday we did launch, but not a manifesto, because the word manifesto equals lie in any sensible word association test. We launched our contract with the British people. And what we're saying is, Brexit absolutely has to happen, and has to happen properly. But Brexit is not the end of the political revolution sparked off with the referendum result back in 2016. It's the beginning, because people have lost complete faith in politics, politicians, Parliament, and the whole system of patronage, whereby people get bought off by being sent to the House of Lords. It's just not on. So we talked about that. We talked about the anachronism that is the BBC licence fee. Doesn't fit with the modern world in any way at all. So, Steve-O, really sorry to disappoint you, but actually we've probably got a broader range of interesting ideas than any other party. If you want to find out more, Steve-O, you need to be convinced. Go to the Brexit Party website and see what our contract with the people is. Karen on Facebook says, we seem to be voting for the best of a bad bunch rather than a good candidate. Karen, goes back to my first point with Antonia. It is an election of negatives. People, well, I'm going to vote for this person because he's not quite as bad as the other person. And that's the kind of thing that we've got. I also think our first past the post electoral system tends to drive people in that direction. Jane, you're a darling. She says, I love your speeches. You have them all running around scared. I wish you were standing here. I don't trust Boris and I won't be voting. Jane, this is an issue. You know, I have stood aside in the seats where the Conservatives hold the seat on the basis that he'd moved his position to say we'll head towards a free trade deal without political and regulatory alignment. Tomorrow, the Conservatives launch their manifesto, and I will be watching, looking very carefully for every single word about where we go in terms of a trade deal to see whether he's lied to all of us. Once again, I hope not. What I do know is, Jane, it would have been very difficult for us to stand against the government of the day if they were saying the same thing that we were saying, even if they didn't mean it. Which is why I'm in places like Hartlepool, which is why I'm out on the road in traditional Labour areas. Regulars will know 130 plus seats in this country have never been won by the Conservative Party and never will be won by the Conservative Party. And in many of those, the Brexit Party is challenging the Labour incumbent.
So I wanted to give you guys a taste of Nigel's enthusiasm and where he's at and where things are going. When it comes to their political manifesto contract with, where do they stand? Because they're being told you just are one issue party. As soon as this is over, you're going to go to the wayside. And I'm just trying to convince them that that's not true. And I guess I can see in Nigel something that's a little bit different than what would be in me personally. And that is a willingness to compromise for the sake of, I don't know what not being a part of the swamp. So if there are issues where he doesn't agree, like let's say he leans more libertarian, okay, and I'm not even sure that Nigel does, but let's just say he leans more libertarian than other people. He might be willing, like, okay, you want more money going to the healthcare, to the NHS. All right, if that's what the people want, if that's what the Brexit Party wants, so long as it doesn't cross any kind of lines of being wrong and evil, you know what I mean? Fraudulent, really just, out and out theft. You know what I'm saying? But if the people say, this is what we want our party to be, we can come together. And I think actually in a society, you see that most people, this party line division is almost a falsehood. It's a farce. It's not real. Most of us on day to day, we could talk to our neighbors
and talk things out and say, we actually agree that people should have health care, that people should be taken care of. And we might disagree on how it comes about, but if Nigel's saying, listen, we have interesting ideas that are totally different, I could see the Brexit Party taking off.
Yeah.
Wonderful evening or day or afternoon. It's sunshine here. Wherever you're at, have a blessed Sunday.
We love you. God loves you. And God bless the world and Hong Kong and Europe.
And happy Thanksgiving to everybody this week here in the United States that's watching. Thursday's Thanksgiving. So
thanks for joining us. That we just love you guys.
We do.
It's fun.
Bye, guys.
Stop.